Even though this episode's coming out in January, yeah, we're recording in November. And so I just finished my November challenge, 50,000. Can't remember the exact, it's like 50,300 words or something like that yesterday.
Yay, Sarah!
With 6 days to spare, even. Like, how did I do that?
Pretty impressed with you because you've been sick as well.
Well, it's funny because I would have days where I could barely get 200 or 300 words out because I felt so bad. And then I'd sit down and do 4,000 words, 3,000 words.
But I think we've talked about this so many times where, like, some days you just do not have the mental energy to write, and then other days you are on fire. It's like a steam train just going.
Exactly. It just worked itself out for me somehow. So there you
There you
go.
go, there you go.
Just have to have faith in your own writing.
Exactly. Or just have to have faith in yourself.
Yes. If my voice is a little froggy, it is because I am getting over bronchitis. So sorry, everybody.
Well, I am not drinking tea today because I just like
Oh,
had a coffee with my sister. So I was just like, yeah, my stomach isn't in the mood for tea right now. So I have some Coke today. Even though it's raining outside, I'm drinking something cold.
sometimes you need the bubbles. It's okay. I'm doing apple cider myself because it's really nice and warm on my throat.
Are we ready for this episode?
We're so ready.
Hey ho, let's go. Welcome to Tea and Tales. We're so happy to have you here with us. I'm Madeline Ainau.
And I'm Sarah Sampson. We especially want to thank all of our viewers, and especially Sophia Parker and Preti Chibara. We appreciate you all tuning in each week. This week, we have our first author spotlight of season 4 with author Rob Mortell. So let's bring him on. Rob, welcome to Tea and Tales. We are so excited to have you here today.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I think the most excited person is Sarah because she likes fantasy and you write fantasy.
And I just read your book, Tales and Treasures. It came out October 2024, so it would be like just over a year ago.
Correct. Yep. That was my first one. I self-published it October 1st last year.
And it's fantastic. I just have a couple of questions. The world name, is it Emre? Am I pronouncing that right?
It is Emre. Yep.
I thoroughly enjoyed your story, and I had to get into my armory and pull out all my daggers in
Oh,
honor
that's
of your
awesome.
story today.
Oh, thank you. I love it. Yeah.
If you have not read the book, you'll have to read it to find out why the daggers. Tell us a little bit, Rob, about how you got into writing and how Tales and Treasures came to be.
Yeah, so I have been writing most of my life. Just started in when I was a kid, just doing like little tiny stories that you draw them and then they'd come back as little published hardcover books and then you just do like little silly stories. So that kind of started it all. And then I got into fantasy stuff after I saw The Lord of the Rings with my dad when I was like 10. And then, it just kind of snowballed from there. I got into some of the other classic fantasy series, The Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones, and all that stuff. I went to college for journalism. The goal coming into college or coming out of college was to be a sports writer. Didn't pan out. I like sports. I love writing. Didn't pan out exactly. But I mean, I still kept that passion for writing. 5-6 years ago, I just, I had an idea. I'd had probably 10 different chapter ones to different books that I kind of wanted to have in the same kind of world. Stuff, like Brandon Sanderson or Joe Abercrombie or something like that. And finally, one story kind of came together after I had some arcs for the two main characters, Vadis and Vidmar. And the story kind of just came together over the course of 4 years. And then after a lengthy querying period to try to do the traditional route, I just decided to self-publish it because I wanted to share it and kind of move on to the next thing.
So, what is Tales and Treasure about?
It's about a bard and a treasure hunter who kind of go through the world searching for redemption in their own unique way. They're kind of a an unlikely partnership. If you got, if there's like a traditional fantasy trope of a found family kind of thing. The Bard Vadis, he likes to collect stories throughout the world. He goes from place to place looking for interesting characters to follow around and base his stories off of that he's collecting. There's, without doing too many spoilers and stuff, he's got to travel around just out of habit and necessity. Then he runs into Vidmar, who's looking for an ancient crown to justify an up-and-comer usurper's right to the throne. So they partner through this quest and solve the mystery, and there's a lot of like folklore woven throughout. I wanted to intertwine some. Since the main character is a bard, you kind of intertwine a lot of different subplots and stories, that are connected to the world, but also connected to the bigger plot as a whole. So really, it's just a story of two unlikely partners trying to find redemption. It's the first book in a 3-book series.
When you first emailed us, I went and I looked up Tales and Treasures, and one of the reviews came back. You know how you only get like the first line of the review, and it said, so many people try to copy Lord of the Rings and do it so badly. And I was like, oh no. So I clicked on it and I wanted to see it. I found it interesting that you said Lord of the Rings is one of your first inspirations, because they then said after that, but Rob does this so well, and he captures the same heart with a different story. And I was like, oh, interesting. As I was reading through your book and all of the different tales, I was like, I can tell where that lore, that Lord of the Rings lore and storytelling really played into your book. Did you have other influences into your writing that you try to maybe use some of their style or other inspirations that help you to refine your writing style as an author?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I read a lot, primarily fantasy stuff. Stylistically, I had always admired Patrick Rothfuss and Scott Lynch, just the way that they their character first kind of stories. And that's what I wanted this one to be. The characters came first, the plot kind of came second. They're also two of the best, just technically, the writing is beautiful. So I tried to weave in some poetry and some more flowery writing and that kind of stuff, and descriptive tags and stuff. I'm not going to say that it's at that level, but I mean, I tried to put some more descriptive language in there to emulate some of that style. You find people you like and you try and you do some of that stuff, but ultimately it's about finding your own voice. I kind of hit that stride a little bit, through the process. I mean, like I said, the book took 4 years to write. I mean, it's hard to write a novel with a full-time job and 3 little kids and a family and all this stuff. So it took a while to get there, but yeah, we got there.
So I read that you are on Substack, which don't know much about, but I'm always for learning what it is all about. Did you post it on Substack first, and that is how you kind of self-published it, or how did you come to publish your novel?
No, that's pretty close. I joined Substack in the beginning of 2024, try and build a little bit of an audience before I published the book. So I ended up serializing it. I released roughly a chapter a week until it was done. It was a good little process, because publishing each chapter, you refined it a little bit as you went through, and then it ended up making the final edit a little bit easier before I put it into a full novel that I self-published through Draft to Digital and Amazon. It is on Substack and Wattpad and some of those other serial platforms. Like I said, I just wanted some people to read it, and they're trying to build an audience and shrine it in as many places as possible.
So this actually leads me to a different question, because I think a lot of listeners that we've had the question of, if you do a short story, for example, and you send it in for a competition or something, it is considered already being published. So can you kind of double publish it then? Because you kind of did publish it on Substack, but then you released it again through Amazon.
There are limitations. That's why it's the self-publishing, because I had published it first on Substack. I can't be in Kindle Unlimited, that program. There's some limitations with Amazon mostly. It's my story. I mean, yeah, that's just like it's essentially just like a new version. So like Draft to Digital, they don't have any problems with that. Like Apple and Kobo and like all those other ones. They don't usually have smash words, and they don't have a problem with that kind of stuff. I mean, Kindle Unlimited is gigantic and millions of people use it. So I get the appeal of just publishing through Amazon, but that means you couldn't publish it through like Barnes and Noble and all this other stuff, and be on other like indie author platforms. So I decided just to be as in many places as possible, just because, like I said, I wanted to share the story. The first one wasn't about making money or anything like that.
So that makes sense now why when I went looking for the book, I found it on Kindle, but not Kindle Unlimited, and I couldn't find it on my Nook or on Audible or any of those things. Is that why it's only on that platform?
Yeah, well, I don't have an audiobook yet. It's just expensive to kind of get it's either going to be me reading it, and I'm not there audioly, so I don't have an audiobook yet. That's why it's not on Kindle Unlimited. It's just because I sell everywhere else.
Do you think you would do that process again, put it out on your Substack and then through the same process? Or do you think maybe your Substack's going to be other things now and open up your novels to some of these other avenues?
The second book, I'm done with the first draft and about halfway through the first edit, and I plan to release it sometime in 2026. I have been hemming and hawing about doing the same because I have a nice audience on Substack. I don't really post a lot on there other than the other stuff. I have, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 other short stories that are kind of connected to the whole world. But I kind of feel like I owe it to them a little bit, the people that have been around there, just to put this next one up for free and keep doing it the same way. But then there's a part of me that's like, well, I tested it the first way. Let's test it an Amazon way and see how that goes. I feel bad if somebody like Tales and Treasure and they bought it on Barnes and Noble, or they have a different kind of reading platform that it's all available in, that I couldn't give it to them that way. I don't have an answer now. I'm leaning to doing it the same way that I did, serializing it chapter by chapter and then releasing the whole book later in the year, but I'm not sure just yet.
So speaking of self-publishing, so you talked about you're busy with your first draft and you're halfway through your editing of the second draft that you are doing. For your self-publishing, did you get an editor, or was it you just self-editing your novel? Did you get beta readers? Did you get ARCs? Like, how did you fall into that little pool of things writers do?
Tales and Treasure, I have a pretty good writing group that I'd been in for a while. I had some alpha readers who read it really raw and helped get the story direction going. And then I sent it out I did another edit, and I sent it out to some beta readers and went through another edit. It was mostly self-editing. I did send it to a proofreader just to see about getting some grammatical errors fixed up before I went it, but I didn't end up spending a big chunk of money on a developmental editor or a line editor or somebody like that. And I'd like to for book 2. So we'll see. Hopefully, it's just an economical decision to see if it's worth the return on investment. I want to make the book as good as possible, but as a self-published person, it's expensive. I mean, there's no way around it. It's just a matter of finding the funding to get that all done. It was my first book, so the process, it was a learning curve there, and I did most of the work myself. I had a writing group that I could lean on until the very end, until I hit published. We were all in about the same experience level. There's some people who publish some more books now, and kind of rely on them to see about marketing and getting the book in its final form. But yeah, it was mostly just me.
That's a lot of work to do with just yourself and your writing group. We always talk so much on here about, get the people around you who are going to help you and get that group. And I'm really glad you had that writing group that helps you out and be able to do that, especially as beginning writers. It's like, do you have the capital to pay for an editor who's like a really good editor? And usually the answer is no. So I appreciate hearing how you got that done. And the writing is very beautiful. This guy knows how to put a sentence together. He knows how to put a paragraph together. As I was reading through and the beautiful full world, and you said it took you 4 years to write this book and to get it into the form you wanted it to publish. But you also have a full-time job. You have 3 kids. You have have all these things. And so many of us new writers also have families and jobs, and we have to find around all of that how to do our book. How did you find the time, and what is your process to be able to get all of your writing done around your life that keeps your family and yourself fed?
Right. I do the vast majority of the work in like 25-minute chunks that I can just, when I find a time, I'll sit down and do that. The Pomodoro technique, I set a timer for 25 minutes, take a break for 5 minutes, and then if I have more time, I'll set the timer again. There's a lot of 25-minute writing, lunch breaks, and 5 minutes of eating whatever I had for lunch that day. I mean, my advice had always been just to, like I said, the first one took 4+ years to write, just the first draft. And that was just basically 200 to 600 word sessions, 25 minutes at a time, trying to string as many days in a row as I can. Weekends were hard. I would wake up earlier than everybody and try and get one in early in the morning. And then, kind of sets the day off a little bit better. But that was it, really. I mean, just finding 25-minute chunks that I can, piece together 500 words in and kind of add them as I go.
And now that you have one book out and you're preparing your second book, you have added things like marketing and trying to get that first book, keep that first book in people's minds and selling while working on a second book. So that's more work. How do you split that time up to do your social medias, do your marketing, then going and writing?
Yeah, it's hard. I did a big push for Tales and Treasure when it came out last year, but then the writing slipped. So I just I decided that the best marketing for Tales and Treasure will be finishing book 2. I've focused on that this year. I wrote the whole first draft in 2025, but the social media stuff and the Substack posts all kind of slipped. And, whenever I can find a little bit of time, I'll go in there. If I get some time, I'll schedule a bunch of social media posts and, kind of space them out a little bit. That kind of helps. I do marketing professionally outside of writing for a building material supply company. So I know what to do, but it's hard to do that all day and then find time to write and then come back to the book and then try and do more of that whenever I have that time. It's kind of frustrating because it's like I said, I know what to do. I know I need to be putting stuff out there, but it's just a matter of finding the time and the balance between everything else. It's usually the first thing that slips.
So you left us at the end of Tales and Treasures on a cliffhanger, and I'm a little angry at you.
I've heard that before.
We got into this world, we got into the characters, and then like everything started happening, and then stuff happened, and then it just stopped. And I'm like, what? No, this can't be the end of this book. Like, that can't be the end. So hearing that the next one's coming out here in 2026, I really hope that schedule stays. I know sometimes the schedule can shift.
I mean, I was pushing myself to try and get it out by the end of this year, to try and do like one book a year. It just didn't happen with life and all that stuff. But it came out a little bit longer than I thought it was going to too. So it's longer than Tales and Treasure, not by much, but right now it's like 130,000 words off where Tales and Treasure left off. So the cliffhanger stuff should be resolved fairly shortly, and then you kind of get into the bigger plot as we move forward in the world. So I like where it's at, and I have heard that the ending changed for Tales and Treasure a lot. And when I finally got to that one, it was just like finding the battle between having a satisfying ending and an ending that makes you want to. I knew I wanted to write more books in the series. I didn't want to leave it a huge cliffhanger. It definitely is a cliffhanger, but I thought that the way it ended, Vadis's arc was kind of circular, and he kind of ends up back where he started. And Vidmar, you kind of see him develop through all the stuff that happens to him. So it kind of leads you into what could happen next as we come into the next 2 books.
Yeah, well, please don't let the second one end on a cliffhanger, because I don't want to hear it from Sarah again. Like, thank you very much, but no thanks.
It does not. It does not end on I'll give you that. It leaves you wanting more, but it's not a cliffhanger.
How many books do you project this series being?
This storyline should just be 3. It should just be a trilogy. But I want to build off of it. I have some prequel stuff from the time way before and some sequel stuff for stuff that's kind of happening after. And then I want to explore that. The main timeline is Vadis and Vidmar's timeline. And there's other characters in that timeline that I'd like to explore individually that haven't really appeared yet. They've been mentioned, but I like the idea of building out a world and having all the stories kind of intertwine, at least while I'm writing fantasy stuff. I mean, eventually maybe I'll write some contemporary stuff that's outside of this little world, but right now that's kind of what I'm focusing on.
Well, I know we've been talking about writing communities, and we always advocate for them because they are the best. You said you are a part of a writers group. Where
Mhm.
did you find your writers group? Because I think as beginner writers, we sometimes just don't know where to go or where to start or whom to trust because all your books are like your little babies. And so then you want to know that when you do give it to a beta reader or when you do give it to a critique group you found somewhere, that they will, take care of your baby and, be gentle with it, but also stern.
Right. I don't know. I got kind of lucky with the one I had for Tales and Treasure. I found one through Reddit, but there was like a couple of us in that, and that group didn't turn out to be great, but there was a couple of us in there that kind of took offshoot and started another one. And that one is just a smaller, it's probably got 20 people in it now. I'm not as active in it as I used to be. Just people, people, like you said, the people getting busy and all that stuff. It was a great resource while I was writing Tales and Treasure. And we just met on Discord, just had a little Discord chat that we have. It's still going to this day. So, I mean, that's where we are. Mostly luck of just online. I have now found some local authors. I've been trying to do more events and stuff, the marketing stuff that you're supposed to do. And I found some local authors who I've connected with, and they've been great. I had some people close to me who knew I wrote books, who had an event going on, and they're like, well, these people meet here every time, and just kind of building out relationships. And I found those local authors, and they've been good for me this year. So I hope to continue to grow the community and have these people that you can reach out to that you trust. Like you said, it's a lot of trust goes into sending out the beta read. Like when I send out these beta reads at the end of the year, I'm planning on sending out the first round at the end of December, and I hope that you're hopeful to get good feedback and all that stuff. And I trust everybody that I'd send it to.
I'm going to ask a question about that, about something that you said, but I want to be careful about it because I don't want anybody to be blasted or anything. But a lot of people on the writers groups that I'm on are constantly asking, how do you know whether somebody is someone you can work with or not? And you'd said how some of the people didn't work out and other people did. How could you tell the difference between the people who would work out for you? Because sometimes people just clash and they're great writers, or people, they just clash with you. How did you figure out which ones you wanted to work with and which ones you needed to just politely move on from?
It was more just like through different conversations. They're just people who are on my same level. I'll be the first to admit I'm not the best at responding to things online. It takes a lot longer to probably get in touch with me than other people in the Discord group. We would all kind of go through each other's stuff chapter by chapter. Then eventually it came to a few of the people who I trusted their opinions just based off of other little conversations that we've had. Just building a relationship, and those relationships blossomed out of just our little conversations. When I started, I had made the mistake of just putting the beta read out on Reddit as a whole on a subreddit, and some of the people coming back there just seem to be trying to say bad things to say bad things. Like, it's like, I mean, I know this is, sure, I can see your point, but you're just saying this to say, like, it just was like contentious a lot of the time. The messaging behind those kind of people, you kind of just pick up on after a little while. But once I've found that that we've had some conversations and it's all going well and we help each other out. I'm more than happy to share my story with those kind of people.
I love that you said that you found the people that you could work with better by giving those small chunks at a time and seeing how they responded. But when you put more out, you actually had less luck finding people. And the bigger platform, the Reddit platform, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because I see people who put their first 5 pages or whatever onto a big forum, Facebook writer group or something. And I just feel terrible because I know they're going to get those people who are just going to nitpick every little thing and aren't really focusing on what they're asking. I think that's wise advice that you just gave.
So do the people in your writing group also, all of them write fantasy, or do they write different genres?
No, it's all different. Most of them are sci-fi. There's a couple fantasy, a couple horror.
So going back to writing communities, and I want to go back a little bit to the Substack idea, because I see a lot of people who get on Substack to build their community, to build their readership. If you were to start that again and go into Substack for the first time, is there anything you would definitely do again or anything you would do differently to build up that following?
When I first started, I would go on there. I had a tiny email list that I imported of mostly friends and family. And so each chapter would get read by like 10 people. And that's all I do. I would just go on there and post it. It would be posted on like a WordPress site. Like you're not getting any kind of hits or anything like that. And I wasn't really engaging with anybody else on the platform. But then, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months in, I started engaging more, looking for other fantasy stories and reading some of the awesome, fiction writing that they have on there, and just posting, just kind of commenting on their stuff and sharing my thoughts about other people. So my advice would just to be engage as much as you can with other authors and stuff on that platform. It seems to be where a lot of the growth happens. I made some really great connections. There's people that are now will definitely be beta readers for Bards and Bargains that I've met through there. And there's a lot of really good fiction that I've seen that has come through there. It's a pretty cool community when you get to the fiction stuff. Lately, it has been very political, and it's very political facing forward when you first enter the platform, and it's hard to find the fiction stuff. But when you get to the fiction stuff, I think it's really good. You just got to be consistent. Like I wouldn't post the chapters the same day of the week. It got better when I started posting them routinely on Tuesdays, or I don't know why, but that's what it was. Maybe it was just that we were looking for that cadence. My advice would just be to engage early and often and consistently post at the same time and place. And I just make sure your messaging is consistent. And then I definitely saw some more growth after that.
How far ahead did you plan the posts for that? For example, did you write something and then knew this was going to be posted 3 months out after it had editing and your beta readers or groups got to read it? Or did you post fairly quickly to Substack?
The whole book was written by the time before I had started going to Substack. So all the content was ready to go. I would edit a chapter at a time, and then I would publish them after the final edit had been done. When I got into a better routine, I would schedule them out, and they would go out every Tuesday. But for the first big chunk of it, they were just random whenever I did it. Just I edit the chapter in the little builder and then be done with it after that, and just post it just straight up.
So you'd say definitely go in with a plan, with something ready.
Oh yeah. So I tried to do some serials afterwards that weren't completely written, and so having to be on the hook for 2,000 words every week was hard. So, I mean, there's the beginnings of like 3 or 4 different serials on there that haven't taken shape. So nowadays I have just reverted to whenever I get, a little spring of inspiration, I write a short story, I'll throw the short story up on there, but I will save the serialization for stories that have completely finished before I post anything.
Rob, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. Anybody who is looking for Rob and for his information, you can go to robmortell.substack.com or storiesofemre.com. Both of those links will be down in the show notes. Is there any last advice you would like to give to any of our listeners, upcoming authors?
Yeah, sure. I think the advice I would, it's just write for you and just stay consistent. I've found that I enjoy it a lot more when I'm not worrying about the external pressure and just trying, that's how Tales and Treasure came to be. I just wrote a story that I wanted to hear, and I just kind of had fun going at it and, carving out the time. Have fun and stay consistent and write for you.
Well, thank you again so much for taking the time and for not eating and using your lunch break to talk to us.
No, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
We like to keep things short here on Tea and Tales. Get your fingers back on the keyboard and your pens back on paper.
If you like what we are doing here, if you enjoy the guests that we have on and the topics that we are discussing, go follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Tea Tales Podcast, and on Twitter/X and TikTok at Podcast Tea Tales. And go to that purple icon on your device and go give us 5 stars so that you can help us go up, up, up at some moment.
Happy writing!
Bye!